Darkness fell over the New England colony of Massachusetts in 1692, but it wasn't the night that terrified the villagers of Salem. It was something far worse. A fear so strong it turned neighbor against neighbor, a hysteria so deep it led to the deaths of innocent men, women, and even children. This is the story of the Salem Witch Trials, a chapter of history soaked in paranoia, blood, and whispers of the supernatural. It began in the bitter cold of January, when Reverend Samuel Parris's daughter Betty and his niece Abigail Williams began convulsing violently. They screamed and twisted their bodies in unnatural ways. They said invisible hands were pinching them. Voices no one else could hear whispered to them in the night. Doctors found no explanation. Their only conclusion: witchcraft. Word spread quickly. Other girls began showing the same symptoms: shrieking, barking like dogs, crawling under furniture. The villagers of Salem, already weighed down by isolation, famine, and fear of attacks from outside tribes, were ready to believe the devil himself had come to their town. And so the accusations began. At first, the girls accused outsiders, slaves, beggars, and those the community already shunned. Tituba, an enslaved woman from Barbados, was the first to be accused. Under pressure, she confessed to practicing witchcraft, but she claimed there were many more witches hiding among them. And so with that confession, a storm unleashed. Neighbors accused neighbors, families tore each other apart. To be named a witch meant arrest, interrogation, and often a death sentence. The court accepted the strangest evidence: spectral visions. If someone claimed they saw your spirit in their dreams or tormenting them at night, it was enough to seal your fate. The villagers lived in constant terror. Anyone could be next. Over the course of just 1 year, more than 200 people were accused. 19 were hanged on Gallows Hill. One man, Giles Corey, refused to confess. Instead of granting him mercy, the court ordered him crushed beneath heavy stones until he died. His last words, according to legend, were chillingly defiant. More weight. Some who confessed to witchcraft were spared death but lived broken, shunned lives. Children as young as 4 were chained in dungeons awaiting trial. And through it all, the hysteria only grew stronger. By autumn, the trials reached their peak. The town was drowning in fear and blood, but cracks began to appear. Wealthy, devout, and loyal citizens were now being accused. Even the governor's own wife was named a witch. Suddenly, the leaders realized the chaos had spiraled out of control. The trials were shut down. The executions stopped, but the damage was already done. Families destroyed, lives lost, innocents buried beneath superstition and paranoia. In the years that followed, many tried to make amends. Some accusers confessed they had lied. Courts admitted they had been wrong. Descendants of the accused received apologies centuries later. But the shadow of Salem has never lifted. The graves remain, and so do the stories of whispers in the night, of restless spirits wandering Gallows Hill, and of a town cursed by its own fear. The Salem Witch Trials are more than history. They are a warning, a reminder of how fear can twist ordinary people into executioners, and how hysteria can summon horrors far greater than any ghost or demon. So the question remains: was Salem haunted by witches? Or was it haunted by the darkness within its own people? Thank you for watching. Now let's talk about what makes this place and time so terrifying, and how it continues to haunt us today. When we think of the Salem Witch Trials, we picture a small Puritan village consumed by mass hysteria. We imagine women dancing around fires, inciting evil spirits. But this image doesn't capture the whole story. The reality of Salem in 1692 was far more complex and tragic than that. First off, let's address the biggest question. Did witches exist back then? Well, not in the sense of pointy hats and broomsticks. But witchcraft played a big role in people's lives. Back then, witchcraft wasn't just a fictional thing. It was a real and serious part of daily life. People believed witches used magic to do harm, cause illness, or even kill. Now, why did they believe this? Well, there were lots of reasons. Back then, doctors didn't know much about how illnesses spread or what caused them, so people blamed witches. Also, during the Mayflower Compact, people were scared and desperate. Living conditions were tough and it felt like disasters struck all the time. This made them turn on each other and look for someone to blame, making them vulnerable to lies and rumors. Here's another. Have you ever heard of the invisible world? It was a popular idea back then. Basically, they believed that there was a secret world that normal people couldn't see. Angels and demons roamed this world, influencing what happened in our world. It was invisible, but it controlled everything. Then we have the devil's bargains. People thought that witches made deals with the devil. He gave them powers, but in exchange, they had to help him do bad things. Imagine living with that belief. Every strange thing that happened could be blamed on the devil and his helpers. But let's get back to the story. In January 1692, things started to get crazy. Betty and Abigail started acting weird. They couldn't explain what was happening. They felt like they were being attacked by invisible forces. Doctors checked them out, but they couldn't find anything wrong. So everyone started talking about witchcraft. The girls said that Tituba, a slave from Barbados, was cursing them. Tituba didn't know much about local religion, but she knew that if she denied the accusations, she might get hurt. So she confessed to being a witch. She told the court that there were more witches in town, and she named some of them too. This started a chain reaction. People started accusing others, and it quickly got out of hand. In those days, people believed that witches could put a curse on you without you even knowing. It was called a psychic vision. You couldn't see the curse, but you could feel it. That's kind of scary, right? Then there were the physical signs. People looked for these signs to prove that someone was a witch. For example, if a cow suddenly acted strangely or a fire broke out, people blamed it on witches. It was like they were trying to find clues in everything that happened. The court system was also different back then. They didn't have lawyers or judges the way we do now. Instead, they had special courts to deal with witchcraft cases. These courts weren't bound by normal laws. They could do whatever they wanted to find out the truth. Sometimes they forced people to confess by hurting them. This led to a lot of false confessions because people just wanted the pain to stop. Today, we know that all of the Salem witch trials were based on lies. But back then, it seemed very real and dangerous. The sad thing is that regular people got hurt because of this. Many innocent people were put on trial, and some even lost their lives because of these accusations. But here's something to think about. Maybe the real horror of the Salem witch trials isn't just about the past. It's also about how similar situations still happen today. For example, during the Salem witch trials, people would listen to the accusers without checking if what they said was true. Does this sound familiar? Sometimes we share stories without checking if they're true and end up hurting people. Another thing is that the people most likely to get accused of witchcraft were those who were already outcasts in society, like slaves, poor people, and women who didn't follow rules. In a way, it's a reminder that those who are already seen as different or dangerous are the ones who get blamed and punished, even if they're innocent. When thinking about the Salem witch trials, remember that it's not just a spooky story from the past. It's a lesson for the future. It reminds us to be careful about believing everything we hear, to stand up for what's right and to treat others fairly, especially when they're going through hard times. After all, history has a way of repeating itself. And we don't want another Salem witch trial to happen, do we? If you want to dive deeper into the eerie tales of haunted places, make sure to check out the video on the screen. And hey, if you enjoyed this spine-chilling journey through history, don't forget to stay tuned for more captivating stories. Until next time, stay curious and keep an eye out for those ghostly whispers. Thanks for watching.